Okay, out of a 2006 Jaguar S-Type with a 3.0, we have the ZF6HP26, and there's about 78,000 miles on this. So this actually came from the local Jaguar dealer that we do work for. Honestly, it's the first time we heard from them in a little bit, but we do their transmission work when they need it done. So we get a call from it. It says the tech was driving it, and he said it wasn't shifting correctly. You know, I asked them if they scanned it for codes. They said they didn't. I says, well, we really need to get the car here to check it ourselves. So we had our tow guy pick it up, bring it to us, and there were two codes present. I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but it was a P0730 gear ratio error and a P0720 output speed sensor. Now, this, of course, is a ZF6HP26, so the speed sensor is part of the computer, which is inside attached to the valve body. Now, I called him up and I said, you know, we drove it, and the manager drove it, and he felt the problem. It was doing some crazy stuff in the higher gears, which is, you know, pretty common for this, but I didn't get any codes for E-clutch or anything like that, just the P0730, P0720. And I was explaining to the guy that the 720 code can't set to the P0730, or if this thing is slipping real bad, I've actually seen it set speed sensor codes. Like, for instance, on a ZF6HP26, when the forward drum cracks, and sometimes it may like race up and then bang in the gear and stuff, I've seen it set a 720 code and go into limp mode. And sometimes when it would come in limp mode with the 720 code, I would clear the code and the car wouldn't move. So I was explaining to him, you know, we could have an output speed sensor code, we could have a transmission code. And he says, well, I got to get this thing fixed, so do what you got to do. So I explained to him that I'm going to overhaul the transmission, and I'm sending the TCM out to Soft Electronics in Europe, in Bulgaria, to do the output speed sensor. So he said, just do that, this way everything is covered and we know it's going to be okay when it gets done. So I contacted them in Europe, and he says when you have it ready to go, he's going to send me all the shipping labels, the manifest, the customs forms, all that stuff, that all I do is just hand over to DHL, and that's it, it's a done deal. When it's done, he'll send me an email, send it to PayPal, and then they'll ship it out. So while that's getting done, I'm going to send the converter out to Ericsson's, I'm going to overhaul the transmission, and by the time everything is done, I should have the valve body, the TCM back here, ready for this transmission to go together. So what we're going to do is we're going to tear this down. Not really sure what we're going to find. Again, it did have an issue. It was shift hunting on the higher gears, like we'd go 4-5, 4-5, 4-5, and all the lights would come on and go into limp mode. A couple times I do believe it actually flared on the 3-4, but when I drove it, it actually worked okay. The manager drove it around, and he's the one that felt the problems. So I'm going to get a little closer. We'll tear this down, see what we find, but we're doing an overhaul and sending the TCM out to Europe to get fixed through Soft Electronic. All right, so I'm going to get a little closer and we'll get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this 34mm 12-point flange nut off, and I already unpeened it where it's peened, so this should come right off. No problem. All right, there's the flange nut. Okay, this should come out. Okay, now, I see this on Jaguars a lot. This little thing right here, let me just move this down a little bit. From the research that I've done, this little gadget here is like a noise resistor. It absorbs the electromagnetic interference, probably for the transmission. So I see it only on Jaguars. That's what it looks like. And I've changed one of these before on a job that I did. And we got it out of the dealer, but that's what it is. All All right, so put that aside. Okay, so what I want to do now, the T27 bolts, we're going to take those out. And then we're going to flip it, drop the pan. I did take the fill check plug out to get most of the fluid out, but I'm sure there's going to be still some left in there. All right, so we got all the bolts out. I'm going to take this fill check plug out. Okay. So of course through here you do the first fill, engine off, second fill, start it until it runs out, and you can select the gears, the normal operating temperature. You want to make sure you have a steady stream coming out. I'm sure there is fluid in here. I don't know if I mentioned the mileage. I may have 78,000 miles on this. Okay. Left. Okay, pan's usually pretty clean on these, no problems. There's our solenoids. This is a filter here. This is an M shift valve body. All right, let's get rid of some of the oil here. All right, so we're going to pop this tab up, and we'll get that sleeve out. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to get the Torque 40 bolts. Okay, we got this valve body off. Okay, leave our plate code. B052 or A052 is our plate code. So I'll be taking the TCM off. It's held on with 6 bolts, and going to prepare this to get it ready to be shipped out. Probably do that also before we finish up the filming, because that's the main reason I pulled this thing out, you know, and then we pushed the car out. So we got a bridge seal. Not too bad. I'm going to get changed anyway. All right, now we're going to get our sealing sleeves out in the back. I got a bunch of other transmissions to do even before this one, but I want to get the computer sent out. I got a couple of 4L60Es. I got a 4L70W on this bench. It's very, very busy here. Okay. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do, we got the pump bolts out. All right, so we're going to take a screwdriver and just give it a little pry by the A drum. My compressor is on because my waste oil heater is on. I want to give it a little pry here. Okay. You don't really want to pry here because this is all kind of machined. And the ZF6HP26s come out a lot easier than the 6REs. Okay, that came right out. Very simple. We're going to pull the pump. Okay. Reinstator bushing. Certainly looks worn, as they all are. And here's the D drum. We got this whole setup, which is the A and the E. That we're going to look at. Alright, now we got our center support snap ring. These are pretty quick to get chunked down, pretty simple. Alright, now we'll get our center support snap ring out. Let's see if we can get under it like this, get it started. Well, at least it's a snap one. Alright. That brings in there pretty tight. I can get behind this side, but that really doesn't do me any good. I really need to get here because the end is here. Okay. That to move. So I'm going to get under it, pop it up. Here. Okay, there we go. And this basically is the same on both sides. Okay. Now the center support. Let's see how easy that will come out. I gotta kind of just stick both hands in here and see how easy. Okay. Here's our systems that keep the center support from turning. Okay. I planet here. I'm going to get the planet out along with the D clutch. Okay. Clutches don't look too bad. Okay, so when you load this up, you put the pressure plate in first because the wavy sits against the piston on the center support. Okay, and this goes here like that. Okay, you also have an open face bearing here. Let's get this piece out. Okay. There is a shim, looks like on both sides. Okay, so this one is gonna go here, like that. And there's another one that didn't come out probably because of the rear seal. And this goes on the other side of the bearing. So this will sit against this. Okay. All right, so the case is stripped. Quick. So what I'll do is I'm going to move this case to the other side, get rid of the oil. We'll take a look at the clutches, see how they look, open up the pump, and then we can take the computer off of the valve body. So when I do this, we're going to do a bushing kit, overhaul kit, friction module, solenoid kit. If this is a Gen 1, I could do a shift kit in this. Transgo shift kit I like to use. Converter will be done by Ericsson's, and the TCM will be fixed by Soft Electronic. Okay. All right, so let me do that and I'll be right back. Alrighty, so let's get this front section opened up. So we got to take the snap ring out. We got a couple of locks here. So we'll get some tension on it, give it a shot, and pop it up. Okay. Here's the clutch valve. Okay, the A clutch hub. Got a bearing here. Of course, I'm going to do both bushing, E clutch hub. Bearing there. Okay. Not too bad. You know, we could have, I mean, the clutches may be good, but it still could be something with a bushing problem. But we don't want to have any problems here. But let's just air check this drum real quick before we pull it apart. Make sure it can hold the pressure. Feels all right. Just double check. Make sure we got no bubbles here. That looks good. Okay. All right, E clutches as usual. You know, you can kind of see they're flaking a little bit, but you know, overall they're in okay. That's kind of common. I always see that a lot. All right, here's the A. Also, bushings here. Gonna get done. Okay. That just looked very nice. B. We have our bearing that goes here, so don't forget you have to press this bushing down far enough to make sure the lip of this bearing does not touch it. All right. And a couple of burn marks on the steels, so we're going to replace those. So on this transmission, the A and the D clutches are the same, and the B and the C clutches are the same, and the E is all by itself. All right, now we're going to take a look at the C. First, I want to get this bearing off. This will just pop right out. There we go. Here we have a bearing race. Gotta be careful not to lose that. Okay, not bad. See how easy we can get this planet out. I'm gonna get my other screwdriver here. I got two of these that I keep. You know, something, a flashlight. Let me grab my little light. Alright. See if we can get this planet out. Alright, so it came up on one side, so I'm holding it up. It just went back down. All right, so here is the planet. Here is the snap ring that I pushed in to release this planet. So let's put this back in. Okay, so that's back in. And don't forget, when I take this apart, I mark the drum and I mark this. You know, the piston doesn't matter, but this has to go in a certain way so this will snap back in. Okay. All right, so we got the rear stator bushing that is made like out of the Babbitt material, which is really not that good. So I go Durabond, okay, shim here. We're going to need our T30. I'm just going to see if these things are going to come out. I'm hoping they will, because I'm a little short on time here. Okay, very nice. This is absolutely perfect. Okay, the gear's right here. No problem there. Okay, we got pump gears. Dot faces up. Okay, the pocket is real nice. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. All right, so let's bring this back here. All right, so now we're going to take the 6 bolts out that hold the TCM to the valve body. Okay. 1, 2, 4. Okay. Should come out. All right, this back over here. All right, so here's the TCM I'm going to send out to have the output speed sensor fixed here. All right, so that's it. So again, 2006 Jaguar S-Type with a 3.0 had some shifting problems. P0730 gear ratio error was one code. P0720 output speed sensor was another code. Every time we drove it with test equipment on it, the output speed sensor worked okay. Because I wanted to see when it did the shift hunting if maybe the speed sensor dropped out while we were having the problem. But either way, you know, we got to cover all bases here. That's what they want us to do. So we got a door bond bushing kit, ZF friction module, ZF overhaul kit, ZF pan filter. Going to send this out, get the converter done, and I think we'll be in good shape. You know, typical normal rebuild on the ZF6HP26s. So, I think that is it. I thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. We'll see you next one.